Welcome to Positive Talk Radio. Our goal is simple: to explore evolving ideas one conversation at a time. So, stay with us as right now we present. It's a new year. It's 2023, and it's January. It's early January, and you may have recovered from your hangover from New Year's Eve by now. And you've also probably made a commitment or two to yourself to live life a little bit better and to maybe have a New Year's resolution or two and all that kind of stuff. Well, I have got a wonderful gal that we're going to be talking to. Her name is Blair Shiver, and she is a nutritionist. She is got a store in the Florida Keys that is called Food for Thought, and it's a natural food store and organic cafe. And she knows a lot about the stuff that you're saying to yourself, I should eat better. I really should. And so she can help us with that a little bit. And so, Blair, how are you today? It's great to have you on the show.
I'm amazing, Kevin. Thank you so much for having me back. It's a pleasure to be here.
I know you're amazing. And it's awesome that you're here, because this is the time of year when now you have a natural food store. Do you find that January you're busier than most months?
Yes, but not for the reason that you might think. Here in South Florida, we are moving into our high season because everywhere else in the country, it's freezing cold. And I don't want to rub it in that we have a cool front coming this weekend where we'll dip down into the 60s in the evening, but be well into the high 70s and low 80s. I think we're only going to get to into the 70s for a high this weekend. So everyone's preparing for that cold front. But yes, we welcome a lot of people into our store this time of year because everybody is looking to get healthy, but also because a lot of people are coming to warm up and thaw out in South Florida.
There are 290 million peoples that are envious of you right now.
I'm not rubbing it in, but come see us.
And so good. So the wintertime for you is a busy time regardless.
It is a very busy time. And actually, I'm really excited because we have a Celtic festival going on here in Marathon this weekend where some amazing Celtic music performers from across the country and globe, if we're being honest, will be convening here in Marathon and the community park. And it's such a great opportunity. You know, there's a lot of trop rock down here, which we love. We're grateful for our trop rock and our live music, but it's so exciting to hear some live music that's a little bit different. And we have some great performers from all over the globe coming to Little Old Marathon.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mhm.
And I was talking with a gentleman from Scotland not too long ago, and he was talking about kilts. So there'll be plenty of kilts there, I would assume.
There will be kilts, there will be haggis, there will be sheep herding. It's such a fun event, and it benefits. Actually, I have to do a little plug. It benefits St. Columba Church's a hammock house after school program that is the Celtic Festival funds that fully. So it's free childcare for people like myself who have amazing kids, but we have to work. And so the Celtic Festival benefits that program. It's a beautiful, beautiful asset to this community.
Oh, that's really cool. Now, I don't want to
Mhm.
stir your imagination at all, but this gentleman from Scotland was telling me that when you wear a kilt, you don't wear anything underneath it.
And you see a lot of gentlemen at the community park and Marathon wearing those kilts. And listen, as a woman who likes to wear dresses and skirts, you can't blame them for wanting to appreciate that fresh, gentle breeze, you know? Mhm.
That's something that we just don't get a lot of going because we will
Yeah,
generally wear pants.
don't be jealous, but maybe you need to find your family's lineage and get your family's kilt, your print, and have a kilt made for yourself, Kevin.
Well,
I mean, McDonald, that's Scottish, right?
I know it's Scots Irish, and
Okay.
depending on what side of the border you are on at any particular time, MacDonald is purely Scottish, and McDonald is supposed to be more Irish. But
Interesting. Okay.
I don't know. But now my son does have the tartan that
Tartan, that's what it's called. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah, so we do have that, but I don't want to scare anybody because I'm not wearing a kilt. I'm sorry.
Well, you're missing out, buddy.
I know. Well, see, today it is 42 and raining, and so we could do it. I suppose we could do it in the summertime, but then I
Next year, Kevin, put it on your calendar.
see, and I just don't know how you guys do it because it's kind of like I would feel like I'm almost like illegal, having the wind blowing up your skirt, as it were.
So, funny story. I have an attorney friend from the hometown that I grew up in, Georgia, planning a trip to Key West. And if you really want to push the boundaries of decent and indecent exposure, do yourself a favor and Google Fantasy Fest. Check that out. Look at the photos. There are some things that can't be unseen, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
It's not a clothing optional thing, is it?
I'll let you check it out for yourself and find out, Kevin.
I would not mind a clothing optional thing, except for the fact that every time that because there are a few places like that here when I was younger, and the only people I saw were old fat men, and that were that that had a beer belly out to here, and it's like, don't you think it would be better for everybody if you put something on?
It's kind of like a nude beach, you don't go to a nude beach and always see the most attractive people. Fantasy Fest has a good mix of both, but it is an interesting eclectic mix. Yes, we'll leave it at that. Body paint is a very popular thing, though I think there has been a push in recent years to make Fantasy Fest a little bit more family friendly, which would be interesting to see how they're going to be able to do that. I've never been in 15 years that I've lived in the Keys. I'm not a huge fan of crowds, except for live music. I can force myself into a crowd for live music, but not for
Not
naked
for
people
that.
painted.
Yeah.
No, 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 it's not worth it.
We have a similar festival up here in Fremont where people do body paint and then they ride bicycles. I don't know how
Oh,
that works
no,
necessarily.
hard pass.
That would not be. It's like there are I don't know, there are tender parts and that you hit with a bicycle seat if you did it
There are
naked.
so many better things I could think of to do than ride a bicycle while naked. I mean, just
Yeah,
saying, just throwing that out there.
I know. Well, some people, it's interesting that some people are just they get a weird thing going on, and
Different
oh, look at
strokes,
this,
right, Kevin?
huh?
Different strokes, right?
I suppose. By the way, John Cole's here, and he says, "Hi, Blair and Kevin. Late to the party, but excited to listen
Hi,
this evening."
John Cole. How are you?
As
Happy New
we
Year, my friend.
as he just tuned in, we were talking about naked people, so I'm sure that he's wondering where the heck this show is going.
Well, we are talking about identifying your why you want to make healthy choices in the New Year's. I think that's a perfect segue, Kevin. If you want to
Exactly.
prepare for Fantasy Fest in October of 2023, let's talk about getting healthy now, right?
If you want to be able to see you never mind. I'm not going to go there, but
Okay, we'll leave it at that.
but it would be really handy if because in this year it'll be a great thing to do to lose weight and to feel better and stuff. So you do that in every day where you're at, and because you've got breakfast and lunch items, you do vegan, you do, which I don't understand. Explain this to me. Why does vegan bread feel and taste like a brick?
I'm not a baker, so I'm not gonna pontificate on that. But because I think you're using plant-based ingredients instead of eggs and milk. Baking in itself is a science that is beyond my comprehension. So I source out the things that I can't do to people better at it than I am. But vegan baked goods tend to use nut flours. So, for instance, almond, you see flax, a
Oh.
lot of sprouted grains. So, they are more dense and more beneficial for your body, but they are different than what we're accustomed to eating. So it was very interesting to me, because again, like I said, baking is not my thing. To really understand why are breads that are better for us are kept in a freezer, because sprouted grain breads, which we serve here at Food for Thought for our sandwiches, they're a little bit healthier, but a lot of those healthier products don't have the preservatives, that maybe aren't so good for our body. So, you know, um, again, I can't go into a in-depth scientific explanation behind it, but just at the surface level, that would be why I could explain that a lot of the vegan baked goods are, have a great night, thank you so much, um, are a lot more dense. And yeah, so that's it. That's the short answer to that question, Kevin.
Was that a customer that was just leaving that you said
No,
thank you to?
that was a colleague. That was a colleague.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
yeah, you're closed now. You're closed now, which
Yes,
is
we are. It's officially just me. I figured it might be quieter here in the evening than in my home with my two dogs, my 6-year-old and my husband.
good call.
Mhm.
Good call.
Mhm.
Okay, so I know you have done a lot of research in this, and I'm just finding out about it. There's something called Beyond Meat. Are you familiar with that?
We sell a lot of Beyond products here in our store. Mhm.
Now I'm concerned because it's obviously it's a vegetable that is put, that they put together, and then it's got the consistency. I'm told, I haven't tried it yet, but it's got the consistency and the taste of meat. But so what chemicals do they, I would think they would put chemicals in that to achieve that. So is Beyond Meat, even though you're a vegan or a
I'm not
vegetarian?
vegan, just so we're clear.
No, no,
Okay. Yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
I'm proud of you for that, because that's, I can't either. But my
I
ex-wife,
like to eat plant-based and as healthy as possible, but I still eat cheese and eggs and some animal protein products. It is a very there's a lot of benefits to eating a plant-based diet. And I try to eat plant-based as much as possible. My focus is more on eating whole foods.
mm,
So what does a Beyond Burger taste like? I will tell you that we have spoken to, if not representatives from Beyond Meat, and it's an interesting observation that people who eat exclusively vegan diets typically don't enjoy Beyond Meat products. And the reason is Beyond Meat products were not developed for vegans. Beyond Meat products were developed for meat eaters. If you can do a side by side comparison of a Beyond Meat burger and a lean beef burger, nutritionally, there's not a lot of difference. The biggest difference is the, how do I say this in a way? Um,
we were talking about
let me
naked
think.
people earlier. You can say
I
anything
know,
you want.
like all the gloves are off, right? Um, so to answer your question, Beyond Burgers are delicious. They are very comparable, in my opinion, to a beef burger because they have put beets in there to make it look red, like a rare
Oh,
burger.
gotcha.
The fat content, I'm not I could run back there and grab a package and tell you the source of the fat, but the fat content to like a say a 90 to 95% lean beef burger is not that far off. So the fat content, there's a smoky taste to them, and the coloring, nutritionally they're not that different. The biggest difference in a Beyond burger and a beef burger, and somebody's going to tell me I'm wrong. I was not prepped for this question, Kevin. But I believe that the reason that Beyond Meat and meat alternatives are becoming so popular in the marketplace is because the amount of natural resources that are required for a beef burger are significantly higher
Ah,
than for a plant-based burger. So if there are calculations and graphics that I don't have in front of me about how much water, how much grass, how much how many resources are required to produce a beef burger versus a Beyond Burger. So it's really more of a resource cost. But at the end of the day, Beyond products really weren't developed for vegans. They were developed to appeal to meat eaters.
And
So
because they're made from vegetables, which is more um, um, friendly for the environment, and stuff. So, if more people eat vegetables and stuff rather than meat, then we don't have to raise so many cows. And so, because cattle, I'm told, is one of the larger reasons for global warming, because of their flatulence and stuff.
exactly, I know I didn't want to mention the methane gas because I figured you might take that and run with it, but um, just
You never know.
I know. Um, if you look at how many cows, like I said, there are metrics and graphics that I'm not privy to right now, but about what acreage it requires to feed X number of cows to produce X number of burgers. I mean, at the end of the day, it's coming down. I think people, I think we've spoken before about of all the negatives that came out of COVID, there were a lot of positives. In my opinion,
Yep,
in my
I agree.
opinion,
I agree.
um, people became more aware of their food supply chain because they had to, because suddenly, I mean, it's real, and some people could suggest or theorize that we're still using COVID for supply chain issues. Neither here nor there for this conversation, but people are increasingly more aware about their supply chain. Groceries, I don't know about in the Northwest, but I was just having a conversation this morning about the cost of groceries.
Oh, it's crazy.
Through the roof, through the roof. So the argument used to be made like, oh, I'll stop eating meat because it's more affordable to eat vegetables. My mind is blown that I looked at my produce list today and do you have cauliflower? Do you have broccoli? I'm like, I can't buy cauliflower at $8 a head and charge you what I need to make money off of that. Like, so we don't have cauliflower right now, So it's interesting to me. I didn't come into this business as a grocery buyer. I've told you before, I was a journalism major with a marketing background and a passion for healthy eating. Um, and now here we are at the helm of a health food store. But it's been such a blessing and such a learning experience on so many levels.
$8 a head?
Cost. So what are you going to buy a head of cauliflower for $11? I don't think so.
Well, you would, in order.
You're not doing it. You're not even going to pay $8. I'm not going to pay $8 for a head of cauliflower. So I'm not, because no, that's crazy.
That's exactly right. Although I do have to tell you, as far as meat goes, have you ever been to a slaughter plant?
Kevin, I'm going to be really forthcoming with you. I grew up in Georgia, and
Okay.
I grew up eating what my father killed or caught. So I, as a young child, have vivid memories of him cleaning a deer hanging from my swing set. So maybe that's something I'll unpack with my coach Allison Roberts at another time. Um, but there was, for me growing up, there was a connection to the food. No, we didn't have a garden. We weren't those people, and it was more of a recreational thing for my father. But I grew up eating venison that he killed in the woods or fish that he caught when we went fishing. So there was always a connection to food. Me personally, my body does not process beef very well. And I after I went to college and became an adult, like steak, burgers, okay, these things are luxuries, but now people are starting to understand when I don't feel good, what might I be able to eliminate? What doesn't benefit my body? And red meat is usually one of the first things that people will cut out. So, kudos to companies like Beyond Meat who are seeking to produce alternatives and reduce sort of that global impact of eating red meat. And yeah, anyway. So, I mean, if somebody brought me some venison right now, I would jump up and down and be so happy because it's lean in Georgia. I mean, I was just up there last month and I was terrified driving at night because I'm like, I'm gonna hit a deer and ruin my car, and how will I get back to Florida? You know, I mean, it's a real problem up there. The overpopulation of deer.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, prior to doing this, I was in the food business, and
That's
so I
right. I
was
recall that.
yeah, I was district sales manager for a major food company, and we took our sales guys up to a slaughter plant,
Hmm.
and you get the impression when you go to one of those places, or just in general, at least I always did, that you assume that a cow is just a dumb animal and that they don't really know what's going on, and that it doesn't matter. Well, it does, because there's a ramp. What they do is they lead the cows one at a time up this ramp, and then there's a guy at the end of the ramp. He's got a it's a kind of like a hammer thing that's got uh,
Mm,
a 22. He loads it with a 22. He hits the cow on the top of his head, and then the cow, a metal rod goes into his brain about 2 or 3 inches,
mm-mm,
and um, and I specifically was watching the eyes of the next up and the one behind him,
mm,
because I saw such sheer terror in their eyes, because they knew exactly what was about to happen to them. And
mm.
so I don't have I used to be like a prime rib guy, and would eat a lot. I don't eat very much meat anymore, and part of that's for that reason, is that. And I also was a chicken guy, and so I was a chicken salesman, and so I've seen lots of slaughterhouses with chicken and stuff. And if more people knew what it was like for the animals that we are raising to kill, um, I think it would change people's thoughts a little bit. At least I hope so.
Even just raise your awareness about it. Wasn't there was a movie, and I remember seeing it when I was living in New York, and I remember walking out of the theater in Union Square and getting on the subway. I lived in Sunnyside, Queens, just across the 59th Street Bridge, and I remember getting on the train in Union Square and going, I was I was either shaking or crying. And the movie had Javier Bardem in it. And when you just described that scene, I remember that. It was, was it, oh my goodness, I can't think of it. If anybody comes up with it, I want to say No Country for Old Men. Is that
Oh, it
right?
could be.
Yes, No Country for Old Men. And Javier Bardem had that particular tool that you just mentioned. And I think that you're exactly right, Kevin. If people had a greater connection to their food, they would have a better understanding. Even if they didn't choose to go exclusively plant-based, there would be an awareness of it and just conscious, like so what I think there are statistics, and again, I should have been better prepared with these, but if everyone ate, if everyone observed Meatless Monday, if everyone ate one plant-based meal a week, the global impact that we could have on that. And there are studies about um, cultures and communities in China and India that observe primarily plant-based diets. And there's scientific evidence to the longevity
Yep.
that these communities have. So it's not simply an I love animals, bleeding heart argument. There's an argument, there is a compelling argument for eating primarily plant-based and eating healthy to increase your life expectancy, and not just increase your life expectancy, but increase the quality of your life while you are here, because unfortunately so many people Don't opt for healthier choices until there is no other choice.
You're from the South. You grew
I
up in the
am.
South.
Mhm.
And I know I've never been to Georgia, but I spent a lot of time in Arkansas and
Okay.
Missouri and in Texas and those places. And they have a really unique diet in that it is very fat filled. It is lots of gravies, lots of, one of their favorite things is country gravy over biscuits and that kind of thing. And so their diet isn't very healthy and they tend to be heavier people. Um,
Mhm.
and stuff, and they don't feel as well, and they don't live as long, and they get cancer a lot. So I think plant based is honestly a better way to go. So I'm gonna have to get. I don't eat. I eat steak maybe once a month, kind of thing, but um, I'll have to get beyond burgers and to give it a shot. Let's see what
Give
John
it
has
a
to say.
try. If yeah, give it a try.
And John says, you brought up a good point earlier. However, about the inflated cost and quality of food, many eat what they do, including cheap meat, because it's cheaper. He is absolutely right about that. He is,
Absolutely. And you know, I my I had kind of this whole outline about things that I wanted to cover and why I think, we should say no to resolutions. Because at the end of the day, when we talk about I'm going to resolve to live a healthier life. And you can hire a health coach like myself. I just quick correction. I'm not a nutritionist. I like eating healthy, but I'm not a certified nutritionist. I say that I'm a wellness advocate.
well, I will.
Bec-
I will tell you that I know what it's like to operate a shop like the one that you're operating, and you probably have more knowledge floating around in your brain than a lot of nutritionists I know, because you also are focused on natural eating.
yeah, and there's a collective knowledge and energy here. I help coach clients on healthy eating programs, but it's so much more than that. And because people are attracted to the programs that I help clients on with weight loss, but people think that then, oh, you're a diet coach. Absolutely 1000% not. Because and this is why talking about resolutions is just it's just not a good idea. The first thing that you need to identify, if it's you're jumping on the new year new me bandwagon because it's January, um you need to identify why you want to get healthy. Why would you like to eat less red meat every, why would you be interested in trying Beyond Burgers, Kevin?
Who, me personally?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I love food technology.
Mhm.
And what we are doing with it. I don't feel the compulsion. As a matter of fact, I have a steak that has been in my refrigerator for almost 2 weeks now. And I keep saying to myself, maybe I'll have that for dinner, and then I don't, and then and stuff. And I live by myself, so it's. But I'm interested in good food technology that we can move into the future with, because we're all going to have to. We're not going to be able to sustain what we're doing is non sustainable.
Absolutely not. And I that steak is a great example of how you can make a healthier choice, Kevin. It's not about making healthy choices all the time and being perfect because perfection is an unattainable goal.
Yes.
And a mantra that I've sort of adopted for myself in my life's journey is progress over perfection. And as a recovering perfectionist, um, you know, how could you take that steak and add in more vegetables? And instead of eating one big steak, sitting down to a meal of a steak and a baked potato, how could you cut that steak into thirds, marinate it, and saute it with some vegetables for a stir fry one night? Pop it in the oven with some peppers and onions for fajitas another night.
Yep.
And, so it's about making healthier choices. And to John's point, making our food dollars go farther, because I think that despite what anybody's health picture looks like, is the biggest concern and struggle right now for so many people.
And what it does is it forces, and to John's point as well,
Hmm.
it forces people into the center of the store. Have you ever noticed that the all the good stuff is on the outside of
Hmm.
the aisles of the store? That's where your bakery is, and that's where your meat is, and your vegetables, and your seafood, and all of that. On the inside is all the processed stuff. And so,
Absolutely.
if you, as an example, if you're a single mom and you want to and you're raising 3 kids and you've got a fixed income, and macaroni and cheese will fill up the kids, and it costs you $3 or $4 to put that much on, so that's what you do. um,
Absolutely.
and that's not good for anybody.
Well, it's not good, but it's about balance. So, even as the owner of a health food store, confession time, my 6-year-old has pasta at pretty much every meal. Not gonna lie, because I know that that's what she'll eat. She also has, and we talk with her about it. What would you like? Giving a kid specifically. And listen, kudos to the single moms raising multiple kids, because I have no idea how you do it.
It's
And
hard.
um, kudos to every single mom out there, and people with two, three, four, five, 6 kids. Forget it. Like, no idea how you do that. But for me, I can only speak for me. We say, yes, you can have mac and cheese. Would you like? And we figured out just through talking with her, she likes raw vegetables. I would cook vegetables, and she's, ugh, I don't want those. Guess what? She talked about having squishy carrots at school, and in my mind, I'm going, are they feeding my child like old carrots? What's going on? No, to her, squishy carrots are cooked carrots. She likes raw carrots. She likes raw cucumbers. She also likes pickles, and in our house, we count pickles as a vegetable. Don't judge me. Um, but that's my point, is it's about balance, and I think that we get so in the mindset of extreme drastic changes that we're setting ourselves up for failure. So she's going to have some form of pasta on her plate. We try to get her to eat a little bit of protein. If that is frozen chicken nuggets every once in a while, she's eating, right? A healthy kid is a fed kid.
Well,
Do you
and
want
go ahead.
Go
No, go
ahead.
ahead. No, I was just
Well,
going
do
to
you
say,
want do you want cucumbers or carrots? And here's a little bit of fruit. So it's about balance.
yeah. Well, and the thing is, getting a 6-year-old child to expand their diet, they don't understand that. They know what tastes good, what they like, and they don't care about expanding their diet. But if you can introduce, I think you're doing the exact right thing. If you can introduce great foods, a little bit at a time, and give them the opportunity, rather than do what my folks did, which was, you're going to sit here until you eat what's on your plate, and if you don't, we're going to be here all night long. And rather than you just, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because that gives the kid the entire wrong message about what
No, and yeah, and it creates a psychology around food also,
yeah.
like I can only say that because I've seen that firsthand with my father, who unfortunately has been diagnosed and is battling Alzheimer's and age-related dementia. So, but it's very interesting to understand some of the strange things that he did and does are a result of childhood conditioning. And we do the things that we do. Why? We don't know, because it was what our parents did, right? So that's a very interesting point, Kevin, that it's not pleasant for me or my husband to sit there and try to, eat your food. That is not the way I want to spend my couple of precious hours with her every evening. Not the way I want to spend it. So, she's probably going to be an attorney, because that child loves to negotiate. If you eat these 2 bites of chicken, you can be done. Eat 3 more bites of cucumber. You know what? And at the end of the day, if a fed child is a healthy child. So it is. I think it's about balance, and it's about giving yourself grace. Um, But yeah, it's not easy. We're all doing the best we can, right?
Well, that's at the end of the day, that's all you can do is the best you can. And
Mhm.
and the other
Absolutely.
thing is, if you decide at the at the beginning of the year, okay, I'm going to eat nothing that's bad for me. I'm going to give up chocolate. I'm going to
Not
do
gonna
all
happen.
of the you're setting yourself up to fail, and you're not going to have a very good time before you fail. Because
No.
so just relax. And I had my son
And
tell I and just real quick, I had my son tell me, I said, gosh, you need to lose weight this year. And he said, Dad, I said, yes, son. He said, you're 65 years old. Nobody cares. And just like, well, but I'd like to live to be 66. And he said, well, they care about that. But as far as you going on a vegan diet or something, you, no, you don't need to do any of that kind of stuff. Just eat a little bit better and enjoy your life because, um, you know, we had there's a guy in Seattle. I don't know if you've ever been here, but
I have, yeah. 2011, we did a cross country road trip.
oh,
So
cool.
we spent a little bit of time in the Pacific Northwest. It's amazingly beautiful out there.
It really is. Before I tell this story, I got to tell this story. I picked up a couple of guys from Arkansas that worked in the with me. They were sales guys in the chicken company, and
Mhm.
of course in Arkansas they have chickers and what do you call them? Moles or not moles? Um, ticks and all that kind of
Oh
stuff.
yeah. Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
picked them up in Portland, and I drove them to Seattle, and they were marveling at how green it was. And the one guy looked at me and he goes, "You mean to tell me that if I went into those woods right there, that I wouldn't get any chickers or any of that stuff?" And there's no spiders and there's no snakes. I said, "Well, that's true, but don't tell anybody because people will move here if you do." You know, but it's different how they live in other parts of the anyway. So uh, I'm sorry, I just lost my mind for a second.
No, it's fun. It was completely entertaining, but yeah, going back, Kevin, to what you said about people enjoying biscuits and gravy and very heavy foods. If you're ever curious, there's a wonderful collaborative of writing, and just exploration of all things Southern. Check out The Bitter Southerner. I started following them. It was college roommates, mom's friend. They're based in Atlanta, and they have an amazing collection of writers who document, life in the South. And it's interesting to understand Southern food culture,
Hmm.
that the biscuits and the gravy and the very heavy foods are exactly your point about a single mother raising multiple children. Those foods are cheap.
Yes.
And I get, uh, is vegetable envy a thing? I don't know, but I get vegetable envy every summer when in South Florida it's way too hot to grow anything, and particularly here in the Keys, where we live on coral rock, and soil is a very precious thing. So it's very difficult for us to grow things. Like, this is our growing season, as it were. And things that grow here in South Florida are very different, maybe, than what my friends who live in Georgia and other parts of the South are growing in the summertime. Like, I mean, if you have ever had a tomato sandwich in the peak of summertime, there is just, and it sounds crazy, but a tomato sandwich, thick sliced tomato with salt and pepper and Duke's mayonnaise, if you've got that, but if you know somebody who makes homemade mayonnaise like my grandma used to, on and don't tell anybody, but white bread, it's really the best. It's best on white bread. A tomato sandwich in the peak of summertime is like one of is there's core memories around that for me. So that cheap food that is so reputed in the South is based in affordability and feeding a lot of people, and
Yep.
sustaining them. So what's going to fill up a belly before it goes out to work in the fields or run as children do, play in the woods? Biscuits and gravy. And that's, like, we're so accustomed now to eat high protein diets, which we need, but the high protein, if we're on our feet a lot, we have very physical jobs, then that's when we need to increase our protein intake. If we're sedentary, like a lot of us are currently in our lifestyles, maybe we can cut back on some of the protein, or maybe look to complex proteins, complex plant-based proteins, nuts, seeds, rice, beans, things like that. There's more health benefits to that. And mixing up some good sauces, finding good spice blends, we can do that a lot easier than we might think. If we think, oh, I'm going to stop eating meat and go completely plant-based. Holy cow, that's overwhelming. But if
It
we can
really
make
is.
small habit changes, like one day a week, having your family have a meatless meal, that can have such a huge impact on our health and the planet.
I no, I agree. I mean, I agree totally. And
Hmm.
I learned about the differences between geographical areas. My son was dating a girl that was she came from St. Louis, and they
Okay.
came from the poor area of St. Louis. And one night, I brought home it was a small roast, but it was a top sirloin roast, and it was
Hmm.
very good quality and very little fat. And it's one of those that you want to cook medium rare. You want to put some garlic and some pepper and stuff on the outside, make a nice little crust to it, and then
Hmm.
it's medium rare. And I pulled it out of the oven, and she said, "That ain't cooked yet." And I said, "Well." I said, "Well, it's a roast. It's designed to be. No, it's got to be cooked more than that. You got to cook it all the way through. You're gonna get worms eating that." So it's like, you don't. Have you ever had prime rib? No, because that's expensive. But
Hmm.
so what she was talking about was pot roast, where
Right.
you get the
Exactly.
pot roast and you cook the crap out of it for hours until it falls apart, but it's all
Hmm.
brown and stuff
Hmm.
and stuff. So that because it's cheaper. You use a chuck roast or a chuck steak, and it's a lot
Throw some
cheaper than
potatoes and carrots in there, and you can feed a family of six.
yes.
And that was kind of a luxurious meal. I mean, I could still jam with a nice pot roast and carrots and potatoes. Don't get me wrong. I'll send you. I was very nervous. Keep talking about Southern food. So, do you know anything about Southern food traditions for New Year's Day?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, I'm going to enlighten you, my friend. Um, I grew up on New Year's Day. You had to eat greens, and you had to eat peas, and you had to eat pork. And I think cornbread's in there somewhere. I'm not sure of the symbolism behind it, but greens were your dollars. Peas, black-eyed peas. I did black-eyed peas and field peas this year, and yes, I use Glory brand from a can because I am not cooking peas from scratch. I don't even know if I could find dried black-eyed peas here, but anyway, balance. Um, so greens, and I did collard greens, and I did them vegan because let me tell you how good greens are with miso. Now, I grew up, if you were going to make greens, you had to boil the crap out of them all day long until your house smelled horrible, and there better be a giant ham hock in there. And they were good. But you can saute collard greens very lightly in a little bit of olive oil. Butter is better, it tastes better, but you can do olive oil or coconut oil and keep it plant based. Mix in a little bit of miso and water and just cook them for an hour, and they're beautiful. And they retain more of their health benefits than if you were to cook them all day. But I'm making a long story longer. On New Year's Day, you had pork for prosperity, greens for the dollars, and peas were the corn. Peas were the coins. Coins. Sorry, coins.
Coins.
Yes. So my husband fished a charter on New Year's Day, and I was very nervous to make ribs because I've never made ribs before. But I consulted with a friend's husband, and he said, 3 hours in the oven, finish them on the grill. My husband had done a nice rub that I happened to find in the cabinet, and I covered those ribs in this rub. and I did the most amazing pork ribs for New Year's Day. I'll send you a photo. They were beautiful. But I ate 3 giant ribs because I made this beautiful plate, and I'm conditioned, finish your plate, right?
Right.
We don't leave food on our plate. I was so full, but anyway, it was delicious, and I was very proud of my ribs. Not something that I do all the time, but on New Year's Day, it's tradition, you do it, they were delicious, and I probably won't have ribs again for a while.
Well, and another big day that's coming up that a lot of people really do a lot of cooking for is the Super Bowl.
Mhm,
It's a wing day, it's a dip day, it's all of those kind of things, and you can really do some really looking for a great recipe. You can find some really cool things to do with dips and that kind of stuff that isn't horrible for you.
mhm.
But it's fun. So you did pork ribs. Have you ever had beef ribs?
Oh, yeah.
I love beef ribs. I'm not allowed to have them anymore, but I just love them.
My husband gleams with pride every time his 6-year-old picks up a rib and eats it like a caveman. He's very proud of that, yes. But, it's a special occasion thing because talk about the cost of food and wings in the Super Bowl. Have you bought wings lately?
No, no. Well, you know what? I'll buy occasionally if I've had a couple of beers. I might go to 7-Eleven and get a couple of buffalo wings, and they're like $7 for 5 of them.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in the restaurant business in the early '80s. I used to buy wings and give them away in the bar. They were a buck
Mhm.
a pound.
Yeah, that was the bar food that you kept people drinking with, right?
That's exactly right, and
Yeah.
you put it on a little buffet, and it's there, and they don't have to go right away, and they wait, and they have another, "Let's have another beer before we go to the buffet," and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah, that's how we made money.
The next time you go shopping, because you're not eating all of your meals at 7-Eleven, I hope, right, Kevin?
No, 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 no.
Um,
No,
the
no, no.
next time you are cruising the grocery store, if you still do that, because I know that a lot of people like to Instacart now, which again, that's gonna if we continue to become complacent about the cost of food and it just keeps getting more and more expensive. Yes, it does, because you have to stay aware, I believe. Next time you're in the grocery store, cruise by the meat counter and check out the price of wings. It's insane. And down here in South Florida, um, like oxtails used to be a really cheap cut of meat, right? Like that pot roast. You boil, you I've never cooked oxtails. That's my husband's thing. They're delicious, but it's a rich that used to be the cheap thing, oxtails. Go look at the price of oxtails. Like these cheap cuts of meat are like in vogue. In vogue, I don't know, but they're even what used to be the cheapest thing has become quite expensive. So it's not easy. It, no, it's not as challenging. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. Too much coffee, Kevin. I apologize.
Well, speaking of which, I live alone. I have for, let's see, I was divorced in 2007, and I've lived with my kids or by myself that whole time.
Hmm.
And so I don't go to the grocery store. I have an Amazon fulfillment center that's right down the street,
Okay.
basically, and so I will order stuff from Amazon of what I'm going to eat, and then they have a
Hmm.
pretty good selection. And so I ordered stuff today, and so I was doing an interview with somebody, and I get a notification, your food has arrived. Now what they do now is they just take it and they box it up, and then they put it on your porch, and then they leave. And so I go out and there's nothing there. And it's $100 worth of stuff. And so I call customer service and they were very, very nice. And then they called the driver. And the driver said, now get this. This is the kind of society we live in now. The driver said, well, I dropped it off and I gave it to the lady that was there. He'd gone to the wrong
Mm.
address. No, I
Mm.
said, well, that's interesting because I live alone, but is she cute? You know, and
Is she making the dinner for me? Because that would be amazing.
exactly. It- and so Um, uh, but think about the thought process that this person went through. The Amazon delivery driver pulls up and she comes out of the house. He drops the groceries off. She says they're hers and they don't belong to her at all, yet she would do that anyway. That's the kind of society that we live in. It's crazy. It's just crazy. But at the end of the story, Amazon is replacing the order. It'll be here in an hour. So
I'm curious, Kevin. So you order your food from Amazon. Are you what does your Amazon order look like? I know that's a
um,
very personal question.
well, let's see. You mean outside of the Reese's peanut butter cups? Uh, well, you see, because I live alone, and I don't want to cook a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
I've for a while I was doing. It's called Freshly, and they've got out of business now. But they would deliver individual meals and
Mhm.
and and stuff, and they're balanced meals and stuff. But there's one that you can get on the frozen ones that's got Think Healthy or Get Healthy,
Mhm.
or and they're just individual meals, and I just pop them in the microwave and stuff because I don't want to cook. I used to go and buy a whole chicken, and then I would cook a chicken, stick it in the refrigerator, and eat it for a week. But
Mhm.
I don't do that anymore because it's that's still too much. So I don't, and these are like 350 calories. The salt content isn't very high. See, I do read the
I
label.
feel like you're having to defend yourself here, and I don't. I'm curious because, if you're, I've wondered about this because obviously subscription based meal services are hugely popular because what is the what is the most precious commodity that we have right now? What would
Is
what I'm what
Go ahead.
no what's the most precious commodity we have right now?
Money. I
Yes, but what do we give so much of ourselves for money?
Service.
Time.
Oh, time. Okay, gotcha.
So, we give our time in exchange for a paycheck, right?
Yes.
And I was having a couple of conversations today with customers. I see so many customers in our store who are struggling with sleep. And I'm part of a group who is, is part of health coaching doing a healthy reset. And I look at the criteria for being part of this, for participating in this group, and it was 12 hours between dinner and breakfast, 3 hours between dinner and your bedtime. But the focus indirectly was on sleep. And
Uh,
we have become so conditioned that, we're working remotely, we're available 24 hours a day. We can run I can run on 4 hours of sleep, right? No, I cannot. I am a monster and I need my sleep. And it's particularly relevant right now because I had a customer point out today we have these beautiful full moon calendars, and they're a lovely reference because you can tell exactly when the full moon's going to be every month. When is everybody going to be crazy? When are your kids going to be nuts? When are customers going to be extra demanding? It's very interesting. But I couldn't sleep the other night, and I happened to peek through the curtains, and I'm like, full moon
yeah.
gets me every month. But we have so devalued sleep as part of our routines. And it's, everybody wants to get healthy, new year, new me. But I think at the end of the day, taking it back to basics and prioritizing sleep, prioritizing water, eating whole food, and reducing, not cutting out completely. But I was going to talk about, SMART goals and having specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely goals. Don't cut things out completely because that's not fun and you're going to fail. Can I have one less cup of coffee? Can I have one less drink? Can I have one meat free meal? Can I get one more hour of sleep a night? What are
Hmm.
the little bitty things, the habits and choices that we can tweak to improve our life?
I think that is really sound, marvelous advice.
Mhm.
Because and you're right. Sleep is it's a huge obstacle for some folks.
It
And
is.
Well, and I'll tell you, as an example, my sister, who is 5 years older than me, has had like 13 or 14 surgeries.
Mm,
She's had three on her neck. She has had both her hips replaced, both her knees replaced. She's becoming bionic. But one of the byproducts of that is she can't sleep in the same position all night long because after about an hour and a half, the pain becomes intense. So she has
mm,
to wake up and move. So she never gets more than, well, she was telling me the other day, more than like 2 hours at a time. And she takes a leave, like eight a leave. You're supposed to take two every,
mm.
it takes like eight a leave just to get through the night and stuff. And there are people that are like that, and it's really is
Yeah.
hard. But if she could find a better way, and we've talked about CBD, we've talked about a bunch of different stuff that could help her, and it's because there are lots of people that's like. So she just doesn't lead a very full life because she's always in pain.
2 hour increments of sleep never allows your body to get into that REM sleep, and that REM sleep is so important for our full systems to recover. Yes, I can function on 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night. Is it safe for everyone else? No, absolutely not. While we have jeopardized the expectations that we put on our body. And I'm so sorry for your sister because 2 hour increments of sleep never allows her body that chance to rest and recover. And I can't imagine having to wake up every hour to change positions.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
and
crazy.
I've had both of my hips replaced. We have kind of a unique um, condition and or a inflammatory system condition
Hmm.
that causes like I have gout occasionally and stuff, and that's why I can't have pork. That's really honestly is why the Beyond Burgers interest me really because that doesn't have any animal fat,
Have you ever
and it's
tried tart cherry juice?
I have.
Okay. Hold on, I can walk you down my aisles and give you all my recommendations for gout products.
Well, and it is really a lot more pronounced for a lot of people than it's an inflammatory condition.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it's environmental or and part of it is what we eat and stuff like that. But have you ever noticed that the list of foods that you're not supposed to eat is really kind of your favorite stuff?
It's yes. So, if we were to drop the lid to our water bottle, if we were to decrease those things, if you were to track and be very honest with yourself about how often hold on just a moment, Kevin. I'm getting in my water because I've
Yes,
been
ma'am.
talking too much. Um, if we were to be honest about how often we have those things, I mean, water. I ask people all the time. That's one of the first things I ask them. I can't sleep. I want to lose weight. I'm groggy. I don't have enough energy. How much water do you drink? Are you taking a good multivitamin? And do you have a probiotic? Baseline. But if we were to be honest with ourselves and really keep track of how often we do things, if we could cut it back just a little bit. So, okay, I'm going to and we're human, so it's behavioral. I have my steak every Friday night with a glass of red wine and I'm not giving that up. Okay, don't. Don't give that up. If you could exchange a reward system for yourself, because we are so inclined, and that's a conditioning from childhood to use food as a reward system. If we reward ourselves with food, could we find something else that we like, something else that brings us pleasure, and exchange that habit that doesn't serve our body you know, every time, and I say this to clients all the time, and they think I'm nuts, and I'm okay. It's okay because I am a little nuts. Um, if when I get home, I have to have that glass of wine, what if instead, but you need that glass of wine, why? To relax, you're stressed out, work, God, that mean colleague that you have, that customer who just wouldn't close, you got to soothe with that glass of wine. What if instead you put on your walking shoes and you walked around the block? What if you took one reward behavior for yourself and exchanged it for something else? Just an idea.
That's a great.
Something small that we can do for ourselves.
It's really is a great idea, and if people could do that, they would be a lot better off. But you know what? Speaking of being better off, it is now 7 o'clock your time,
It
and
is,
because
Kevin.
you are in the Keys, and it's the sun has gone down. It's still nice and warm. Oh
It's
my
dark
goodness.
out there. It's dark here, but yeah, I wouldn't want to rub into you what the temperature is out there. I'm sure it's very nice. You can see that I'm wearing short sleeves in January, so
I can indeed. But you have a 6-year-old and a husband who adores you at home, and I don't want to keep you any longer. But well, can you? I really really enjoy talking to you, Blair. And by the way, John, if you're still listening, where the hell you been? You need to come back to be on the show again.
I'll follow up with him on that. Kevin, it is always so much fun to chat with you. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me and giving me the opportunity to chat. I look forward to doing it again soon. And I know I have several of my colleagues who, when I said I would not be in our group meeting tonight, said, "Ooh, I need to schedule another call with him." So I will nudge them to get on your calendar. Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to doing it again soon.
I adore you. I think you, and we've got so much more that we can talk about, and it's just a lot of fun. And I believe that these episodes are really listenable, and because we
Thanks.
talk about all kinds of stuff.
We do. We run the gamut from body painting to red meat and exercise, don't we?
Exactly. I just had a thought.
Yes.
I want to know who the individual is who actually does the body painting.
Somebody who probably travels around to these festivals that we speak of and makes a lot of money. But you know what? I tell you, kudos to them because it ain't me who's going to be down there painting an old naked person. No, not going to do it.
No, there are certain parts that should probably just not be painted.
I mean, you can't dictate the cleanliness and hygiene of someone who's been drinking all day, can you? Am I going to take a paintbrush to them? No, I'll leave that to the experts. So
It,
kudos to those people.
the only way that I would do it is if you could have a spray paint from like a dozen feet or
Actually,
something.
you know what? Truth be told, I think it is spray paint. So there's probably a great ability to maintain some distance from said body parts. So yeah, they are truly Google Fantasy Fest, and there are some works of art, but they're like I said, some things can't be unseen. So, yeah,
Google Fantasy Fest. I'll do that. By the way, if you want to find out more about her, about Blair and her store, Food for Thought FloridaKeys.com.
flkeys.com.
Yes, flkeys.com. And it's a beautiful store. You do a great job there. It's
Thank
it's
you, Kevin. We have an amazing team here
and you know why you have an amazing team? Because you put it together.
because I'm trying to build a life I love. Thank you so much, Kevin. Have a wonderful evening. I look forward to doing it again soon. Take care of yourself.
Thank you very much, and you too. She's kicking me off my own show. I can't believe it. Wait right there. I'll be right back. Hey, thanks for enjoying this episode all the way to the end. Please give us a like and subscribe to this channel. This has been a production of PositiveTalkRadio.net. Please visit our website, oddly named PositiveTalkRadio.net, for more details about us and our mission, which is to provide great positive programming designed to inspire us all. I'm Kevin McDonald, and I'm proud of these shows, and I truly hope that you'll like them and share them with friends and family. So on behalf of our entire team, remember, be kind to one another.